Hi, and welcome to the video unplugged version of delWine. And it's great to have today with us Michel Koopman, who is the general manager of Leela Ambience Gurgaon. I've known Michel for a couple of years, right after he came to Delhi, in fact, and I was very impressed with his style and his passion for wine. And as you all know, I'm passionate about wine, so I told him that I will like to see what he does, and I think he's done some wonderful things, and it's a pleasure to have Michel
with
you, and thank you
cheers.
for being
Cheers,
with us.
cheers.
Cheers to you. We are having, what are we having just now?
We have a glass of Prosecco. Actually tonight we have a Tuscan wine dinner, and so a nice glass of Prosecco just to kick off the night and to have a lovely evening. So
great. So tell me what you were when I met you. You said that there's no point in hotels having prices high and people not drinking it. So what have you done towards that?
So when I came to India, obviously there was a bit of an issue with the sales prices of wine, and I'm a wine drinker my whole life. There's the first country in the world where actually a glass of whiskey was actually cheaper than a glass of wine, and that really concerns me, because I think you better drink wine than whiskey. It's healthier, by the way. So we actually decided to actually look at our wine prices and actually almost slash them in half. When I came here, and I pay for my wine like any other hotel general manager. A glass of wine was 1,000 plus. Now it's around 500, 450, 600. So we try to make wine more accessible, because I think people should enjoy wine in moderation. So you need to make sure that you actually teach people how to taste wine. So we did a lot of things. Number one is actually reduce the wine list. People stock far too much wine. Reduce the wine list, and 150 labels more than sufficient. Have an aggressive bin-end program, and as well work with the right wines for the right cuisine. You can't have a generic wine list. When you eat Indian food, you need different wines. Right. When you have Italian food, you need Italian wines. When you go to a place like Spectra, which is a multi-cuisine restaurant, you need a multi-cuisine restaurant style wine list. So we changed the wine list, made it more accessible. But that's one part of the story. The key thing is the training of the staff, correct? Because like anything else in life, they have to sell it. I know a bit about wine, but I'm not on the floor. So we spent quite a bit of money on wine training. We actually got together with Gagandeep Singh, who's a great guy, and we have our people now going through a wine training program on a consistent basis. It's the same with coffee, by the way. You want to have a good cup of coffee, we have a team of baristas and we train them. So it's all about getting your basics right. We did the same with wine, and then we said, okay, for now, how can we now engage our kitchen team? So we started our wine dinner series, right? Which is very important, and we don't do them seriously, we don't do them to make money. We do them.
You started last year, right? We
started last year, started from the beginning. We had a full calendar of 12 months.
And how was the response?
Very good. We started off in the beginning, 30 people. And in the beginning, the wine lists were typical, the general manager entertaining and 12 people and only for the happy few. And I said, no, we have to make it accessible. You don't always have to actually offer expensive wines. You offer, new varieties.
Sure.
You make them fun.
Yeah.
You make them relax. People can talk about it. Because wine, you need to break down the barriers.
Absolutely,
right?
yes.
And this is exactly what we did. So we started a series. We do every month a wine dinner, and we have a program a year out, and we have a lot of loyal followers now who actually come to the wine dinners. We now started actually wine master classes, where we have 6 a year, when we actually teach people. Okay,
they're starting this year.
This year.
Okay.
What is a Sauvignon Blanc?
Okay.
What are the different varieties? The first one is called French Exodus. So all the varieties who actually left France. Yeah. And we actually explain people where they're now and what is the reason why they got there, and what are actually the characteristics of the wine. You can still taste actually where they came from. So we try to just make it fun. We do a lot of training, and we like to get the chef engaged. We like to make sure that the chef actually, we do a champagne dinner on the first, correct? Not easy to do a champagne dinner. You start with possibly a Blanc de Blanc. Yeah, then you go to a Brut, and then you actually build it up to most probably a vintage Brut, and then you actually go to a sweeter end, correct?
Yeah.
So not easy. So I think a bit of education for the chef, and combining Indian food with wines is a complete difference. And I'm learning, correct?
Yeah.
Combining vegetarian food with wines is even more different. So yes, it's all about those kind of things.
Yeah, very right. So how do you see? You said you have a different wine list for Spectra or Dia or here in Zanota.
Yeah. They're all different wine lists, and we keep them nice and small, correct?
Okay.
72 labels roughly each.
Okay, and you have a total of 150.
150, something like that. And then we have next to it, we have the connoisseur list. People want to spend some money, then that's separate. But I think the worst thing what you can do is, when they came here, the first wine I opened the wine list and it was all, Bordeaux Grand Cru, correct? And it's like, whoa, that's not the image I want to actually have for my wine list, right? So we actually took that out, and if people want to spend money, that's fine. Quietly, humbly on the side, but make the wines accessible. Good selection of wine by the glass. Even here in our Royal Club wines, 6 whites, 6 reds, and good quality wine, right? You don't go cheap.
And how do you classify the wine? How many New World and how many Old World in Australia? I mean, you're from Australia.
Yeah.
You think you're giving preference to Australian wines, or people want Australian wines? Or?
I think it depends on the hotel where you actually
the clientele.
work. Yeah, A, the clientele, and B, I think the type of restaurants what you have, and the climate. India being a very, very hot climate.
Warm,
I think the heavy Bordeaux is very difficult. So
sure.
I think the lighter style of wine, and India is a developing wine country. So most probably the palate of the Australian, New Zealand, wines are actually rather easy to drink. It's like anybody else. The first car you drive was not a Porsche, right?
Sure.
So you need you need to develop your palate, your taste, and that's why I think it can work well.
So do you see the change happening in your clientele from last year to this year? People asking for slightly better wine, or people asking for a variety of wine?
I think the variety.
I think
it's
sure.
the variety, because
that's very important. Yes.
At the end of the day, you need to, and that's why I'm very happy with companies like the Wine Company, etc.
Sure,
I do try to actually push the product, push the product along.
Yeah.
I think they do an outstanding job, and I think it's important that you make wine accessible. At the end of the day, like from my part of the world, we have a glass of wine every day.
Sure,
Which means I'm not going to pop open a very expensive time every wine, but every day. So you need to be very, very mindful of what people spend, and that's where, for me, wine should be as accessible as a beer.
My question is then, in terms of most hotels, I meet F&B people, general managers, they are not able to dictate to the finance department in terms of the pricing,
The good news is
400%, 500% markup and all that. How do you do that?
Quite simple, I'm the general manager, right? So
but then there's the accountant sitting there, the owner sitting there and saying, what are you doing and all that. How do you?
It's quite simple. First of all, I've got an amazing owner who is just focused on one thing. It's just called, cash flow and contribution margin.
Okay.
So at the end of the day, what do? I prefer to sell a wine at the cost of 50%, but if my margin is a lot larger, instead of a cheap wine which is about 20%. So, it's all about the total volume. We are a large hotel, we sell more than 100 bottles of wine a day. So it's all about pumping volume and then turn it over.
So in terms of volumes, you'd say that in sales have increased in the hotel at what percentage?
Definitely. I would say when I started it was around 70 something, now we're above 100. And as a combination of banquets, I think the biggest opportunity we have on the banquet floor.
Absolutely,
like the younger generation of my Indian guests, they really enjoy wine. They enjoy the champagne. The weddings should have champagne towers. They should have a bit of fun. They should have better quality. And I think that's actually. But you start in the restaurants, right? You start to go with a wedding, and you've got your uncles and your aunties there. It becomes a bit difficult. So you need to be careful.
Well, you can have a glass of champagne or a glass of wine.
Of course you can.
So do you find that women or younger people drinking more wine in the banquets?
Of course, less risky. I mean, generally speaking, people are a bit more responsible as well. Drinking and driving, number one.
Right.
Number two, a glass of wine is probably healthier than a glass of whiskey.
Sure.
Number three, it's a bit more trendy, correct? Everybody drinks wine.
Right.
I mean, the consumption of wine throughout the world shoots up. The consumption of beer and hard liquor goes down. So why would India not follow the trends?
Yeah. And so talking about that, do you have more wines by the glass?
Yeah, every outlet has six whites, 6 reds,
Okay.
which is sufficient. And you know, the inconsistent supply is a bit of an issue. And what
Yeah,
happens
right,
at the
right.
moment with the whole assessment tax?
Yeah.
We just had a meeting with the
Haryana
Chief
people,
Minister.
Yeah. Oh, you did?
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah, we
okay.
went to see.
Yeah, they come out with some strange...
And he was very open, a great Chief Minister, and he said, listen sir, you know, it would be rather sad, you know, and I took the Corona beer as an example, if Haryana is famous, yeah, because it's the most expensive Corona, more expensive than New York City, right? Now the same will happen with wines. So we need to attack it, and he was very much open and listening, and I think we were very much aware that living in a Hindu country has it, of course, need to be humble what we drink. But at the end of the day, I think we're better off promoting wine than hard liquor, right?
Sure.
Because at the end of the day, that will do all kind of issues for health. So I think we had a very open ear of the Chief Minister, and I sincerely hope that assessment fee tax, which
I know,
that really has to
250 rupees a bottle.
No, 1,200. Yeah, 1,200 pro liter, which means a bottle of wine will cost you 800 more, which is ridiculous, correct?
Yeah, of course.
And that doesn't make any sense. So, and I think he did understand that. So I'm quite sure that he will make the right decision.
So you think we are moving in the right direction in your hotel, at least?
No. I think you know, it's fun. I think it's a bit of educational. It is international. Like at the end of the day, we're in India, but we try to attract international tourists, right?
Yeah.
We try to international travelers, businessmen. So we have to have a decent selection of wine at affordable price. You cannot charge an Aussie 5 times the price of a glass of wine he gets at home. Right? It doesn't make any sense.
You know, it's very interesting. Many hoteliers tell me that, oh, this wine is not for Indians, it's actually for the foreigners, the expats. They can afford it. I say, well, I don't know how they can afford it.
No.
It's so darn expensive. So,
no, I think wine is not at all, I mean...
It should be something you go and
enjoy
it, order a bottle of wine without suffering pains. You know.
But I think it's completely changing. I think the guys who tell you that are the really traditional general managers. Most of them has not worked overseas and have not seen the world. Right? You know, I understand that. I mean, if you only grown up and lived and worked in India, you know, it's the whiskey culture. Right? Yeah. That's what it is, and it's a hard liquor culture. But that's fine. The same. I came from China. I lived there for 5 years. Exactly the same. In China, still 95% of the total beverage or hard liquor, or actually alcoholic sales, I should say, is still Baijiu and Mata.
Baijiu, I know.
Yeah, 95%.
I know.
Yeah, so it's a drip, but you need to start somewhere and never give up. So.
Well, I wish you all the very luck in trying to help us improve the wine culture in India. I think it's a slow process, but we need people like you to continue working at it and make sure people like me can afford to have a glass of wine when they come to the hotel. And you know, it should
For
be
me, it's exactly the same. Like I said before, although I'm a general manager, we're very clear. If I have a glass of wine, I pay for it. That's what it should be. If I'm entertained, different story.
That's wonderful. I think I'm very happy with what you've been doing, and I hope you keep on doing what you're doing.
Thank you very much. Cheers. Enjoy the dinner tonight. Thank
you very much.
Salute. Bye. Thank you, sir.
Pleasure.